Well, hey everybody, welcome out to Filling the Gaps, a podcast that is not an actual play podcast, but is just devoted to brainstorming ideas, whether they're good or bad, in hopes that you can be inspired for the next time you actually play with your friends on your next game night. My name is Rich from the Heartland State of Ohio, and I'm joined by my good friend Cameron from the biggest and baddest state of Texas. Cameron, why don't you go ahead and say hello to the lovely listeners we have on this fine morning, day, or midday.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
And then that's a good morning. That's like a good morning. Hello.
Gotcha.
And here's like a brunch hello. It's like, hey.
Hey,
what's going on?
Yeah, how's your day?
Man, great.
Yeah.
You want a mimosa?
Yeah.
This is pretty good. And then here's a lunch. Hey man, the quarterly numbers aren't looking that great, honestly. Ooh. And I'm honestly thinking that we're gonna have to start making some structural changes within the corporation.
Oh dang!
And I'm gonna have to let you go.
Oh shoot!
So,
yeah. Ooh. Okay. Okay. Well,
I don't know. This is a weird world I'm in right now. But like, you told me to say hello, and this is sort of like the hellos I do.
You got to be a little bit more encouraging at night because I've had a rough day.
Okay, nighttime. It's like, hey man, look. It's 6 p.m. now. All right, it's
gotcha.
We finished the work day. High quality, hard work day.
Yeah.
Hey, listener, you did a great job, okay?
Yeah.
Right? And what I said at lunch today, I saw a new person show back up after lunch, okay?
Okay.
You just got to be like that every single day.
All right.
Okay?
I'm ready.
Give it your all.
I'm ready. Yeah. I'm ready. And speaking,
yeah, you're ready. Okay.
Speaking of giving it your all, wanted to shout out a listener who left us a review on iTunes. We always appreciate those, as does every podcast person in the entire world. Thank you so much. We want to shout out Marasaki Ninja. Sorry if I said your name wrong. But they just said that they've been listening for a long time. They really love the podcast. Usually they stimulate some ideas, even though sometimes our lack of basic things, such as understanding the Pied Piper and me never knowing what a movie is, can sometimes be cringy. But you know what? They stick through it, and they love it. So they just say, listen, laugh, learn, lethalize for your players. Bottom line, good show. And you know what? Good listener. Good listener.
Yeah,
Marasaki,
good listener.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You're getting a raise, kid.
You're getting a raise, kid. You know what? You know what? Come on back on Monday morning. Come on into me and Cam's office. We'll have a sit down.
Yep.
We'll have a talk.
We'll see you there. Mm-hmm. Rich is going to be, for every download that you download, for every episode you listen to and download, Rich will be sending you $10.
Yep. That's how it works.
Just send me the PayPal.
You heard it here.
Yes, shoot us a direct email. Send me your PayPal, and I'll make sure to link you and Rich up. We'll get this all taken care of. And everything will be great.
Easy peasy.
Hey, Rich, speaking of other things that are great, Rich and I have something exciting to announce. Some of you already probably know about this, but do you like us talking about D&D?
Hopefully.
I would imagine right now in many cars and offices, people are nodding their heads. Of course, absolutely, yes. You guys are the smartest people of all time. You know everything there is to know about D&D.
That's true.
Cameron is far smarter and far more experienced with D&D than Rich. Stuff like that. Well, if you like listening to us talk about building D&D, if you would like that, you might actually enjoy us playing some D&D or any other tabletop role-playing games.
That's right. We did it. We sold out. We're starting an actual play podcast.
Yes. Not just we are also pairing with Coventry, which more specifically Cameron, the DM from the Coventry podcast.
Fantastic.
And then many of you have been led here by this individual, Adam, from the Roaring Trainers, is also joining us as well. We will be going through multiple campaigns. We're going to do a little bit something different than regular actual plays. Regular actual plays, there tends to be an issue where if you are behind and you see that massive mountain of episodes in front of you, it can be a bit daunting, to say the least. So instead, the four of us, all DMs, have gotten together and decided we will give each of us a chance to play while we also get a chance to run games for each other. Rich will be running a D&D campaign, and guys, I gotta tell you, this man...
It's pretty good.
He knows what he's doing.
I'm trying.
He plays the D&D pretty good. Cameron will be running Mask, which if you have not heard on the Coventry podcast, we will be transferring a lot of that over to the DM's Treehouse as well, but it's the Heritage campaign. It's
You'll
a lot
laugh.
of fun. We have.
You'll cry. You
will cry.
Wish you had talked to your family more.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the promise.
We'll give you ample opportunity in that as well. Adam will be running a custom game called Poke World, or Poke Play, which will then be titled Poke World, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Is there? Okay.
I think as of now.
We're excited. Okay, cool. As of now,
dude, that game is going to be sweet. We haven't played in that world yet, but I'm excited for it.
We actually are getting a chance to play as Pokemon as opposed to playing as trainers, which we're pretty excited about.
So good.
And then lastly, I will be running a game as well. It's a very similar system to D&D. It utilizes a D20 and all the regular dice like a D&D does, except instead it will be set in the West, utilizing guns and all this kind of stuff. It's a custom system that I've been working on for about 2 years, somewhere around there. And I'm very excited. Rich has a great character that I don't want to spoil.
Dude, all the characters. I feel like every single session that one of us does, I'm like, man, I don't know if we're going to have better characters than Chunk, Calvin, and Doug. And then it's like, oh, but Bonba, Hastings, and Desper are pretty good, and these Pokemon characters are it's just so good. So
so we definitely have the audacity and the ego to think that our game is the best.
Yes,
and just like we think our advice is the best, we feel the same way about these games as well.
Exactly. So that'll actually be launching late August. So hop on the Twitter, follow us. And as soon as we drop it, you guys will get all the Heritage episodes. Then you'll start to get solo episodes for the Heritage characters, and then you'll be popping into the D&D world. So it should be fun. But yeah, it'll be good.
Yeah,
it'll be good.
And dude, here's the thing. Obviously, I think everybody here knows that you're the brains of the operation.
Gotcha.
I'm here for the good looks.
You're the
beauty.
beauty.
I mean, mostly.
Yeah.
I'm definitely
if we're the A team, I'm what are the different A team members?
I don't know.
There's the face.
I don't know.
Okay, well we'll put it this way. Cam's the face, Adam's the brawn, Desper's the brain, and I'm the
you're the van. You're the A-team van.
I am the van. That's beautiful. So we're gonna.
I do have a question though.
No, actually,
about the show.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
What?
Yeah. You had a question. I was gonna ask a question. But
no. If you were about to ask a question, I thought you were about to ask.
I was about to ask a question. Cam's giving me angry eyes.
Rich.
Just to switch
Shall
it up.
we roll? No. Shall we roll?
Let's do it.
No. I don't even want to. You make me sick to my stomach. You were about to ask the question.
About to ask it. Just to switch things up, Cam. I didn't mean it. Oh my gosh. New listeners are like, is this an abusive podcast relationship?
Yes,
is
it is.
Okay?
From here on out, it is. It absolutely is.
Oh gosh. I can just imagine this conversation we're having right now with the cheery sound in the background. So what we're going to do is me and Cam both have D20s. We're going to go ahead and roll on a list of themes and scenarios, all submitted by our fans. Awesome. So today I'm going to be rolling for our scenarios, and Cam will be rolling for our themes, and then we'll smash these two ideas into hopefully something that inspires you guys. So, Cam, you ready to do this thing?
I don't know if I can forgive you.
Oh gosh,
I'm ready.
You're still so hung up. I'm so sorry. I just wanted to switch things up. I didn't mean it. Okay, 3, 2, 1, and 3. Why am I always rolling so low every time?
You don't roll low every single time.
Okay. So 3, and then you.
It's a 5 from me.
Okay, well, let's go ahead. Let me shout out a fantastic sponsor, the one and only Libris Arcana Dice. If you guys want dice, if you guys want a little bit more of this, you guys want a little bit more of this in your life, if you guys just want some more of this, some more, how about some of these, get a little bit of that, then you got to check out Libris Arcana Dice. They will sign you up for a monthly dice subscription. They will send a random set of dice to your door every month. And if you use our promo code FITG, you'll get 25% off your first So go ahead and sign up for that. Tell them we sent you, and get yourself some good dice. Cameron, what do we got today?
That was your best ad yet.
25% off your first. I did like that.
Yeah. Because it's ambiguous as well. Like, nobody knows exactly how many dice they're going to get. So. Okay. We have the 5 from our themes. Our theme this week will be steampunk / emerging machines. That's brought to us by you, actually.
Oh, by me?
So, yeah.
Oh, hey.
You're trying to
I'm surprised
sneak some stuff in there.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess if somebody else did, Rich took credit for
took it.
I just want to let you know that.
I took it.
And then our scenario this week will be Merging Realities, brought to us by Molly.
Oh, man, I got a good...
Molly, why did you do this to us?
I think it'll be sweet. I've got an idea for it, but let me ask you, when it comes to either merging realities or steampunk in general, what are some things you're seeing in your head? Whether it be a city, a person, an NPC, a weapon, whatever. What are you seeing?
I'm seeing like for a long time, this sort of like useless like town or clan that had always sort of been beaten by everybody all the time. And then all of a sudden, now they're kicking everybody's tail with these new weapons, and they've got this new armor, and they've got these new like machines that they're using, and they're becoming this like oppressive force, something that they'd never become before. And so it's that kind of like bully syndrome, or like it's almost like Napoleonic in a sense, like where they were always sort of like pushed aside and bullied, and now they refuse to be unseen, and they say will be our world now. And a lot of that has to do with maybe a tear or a rip in the fabric of space-time that has led to a portal to maybe a different universe involving a lot of steampunk stuff.
Okay. I think that's awesome. And that's actually kind of close to what I was thinking of. Okay, so in actual D&D lore, Dragonborn, there was a city that disappeared off the map thousands of years ago. And then after the spell phage, which is essentially the spell phage was like magic kind of went uncontrollable for a little bit, this city just appeared on the map. Like space and time expanded, and now there's this new city in between these other cities, and it was filled with Dragonborn. And all of like their culture was different. The way that their technology worked was different. And I wonder if part of this quest isn't built around maybe in this other reality where instead of magic being more kind of pulling on that magic just grew differently. Like what they focused on grew differently. So in this one world, they focused on like magic and technology together, more like an Eberron style, warforged, and technology being like mechanized. And then in this other D&D world, it's more like magic itself being more powerful and volatile and not quite used and trapped in runes and stuff like that. And on one of these sides, one of them kind of start to pull aside the veil and pull in this other stuff and these other people. Or you could have just plane jumpers. Like plane jumpers work too, jumping from one plane to another. But I love the idea of kind of, I feel like this is the third week in a row we've said this, but the Krogan from Mass Effect, be able to have this culture of that's just getting expanded and kind of given too much, too quick, kind of.
Well, here's what I actually would compare them more to the Solarians. And here's why. Okay. Solarians were a weak salamander, very like cerebral race, or species, but they weren't able to necessarily defend themselves from a militaristic perspective. And so instead they focused their efforts on sciences and technologies and things to that nature. And so what maybe happened was, do you know the Solarians? Remember?
I'm sorry. I'm just thinking.
Okay. Yeah, Rich and I have webcams now, everybody, and so we can actually see each other's face, which is fun.
We stare deeply in each other's eyes all the time.
He's only been able to see one of my eyes because that's how I just do it like an eye scanner from one of the future movies.
Yep.
And I just put my eye
that's how it
directly
works.
up to it. It's how it. Yeah, that's how we make the biggest connection. So what I'm thinking of is like Solarians, like like the salamander style. Not
Yeah.
salamanders. They're like slimy people,
Yeah.
if you will, from Mass Effect. But let's find a race in D&D that would be generally considered weaker, and I know that might piss somebody off, but that's like not necessarily brawn and strength aren't their things. No, and I was just actually going to say that. I think like gnome tinkerers would be great for this. And the reason why is because they haven't been really presented as the ones that can go out and like fight without some augmentation. And so they were always cast aside. And then this gnome tinkerer leader said, look what I found. And they build up this steampunk sort of world where they have like automatons that they control, like mechs and stuff like that. They you know what I mean? Like, is that
So no,
and it fits perfectly.
no. I love this idea. Here's my question: why are so merging realities? Why are these gnomes coming into our reality? Are they running from something? Are they coming over to exploit something? Like what is their game?
Well, here's what I was thinking. I don't know if they are merging. I don't know if they are coming into the reality of our own. I think they're already existing within our own reality, and then the desperation of always being cast aside or put down has led to them tearing open the fabric of space-time and allowing another reality to merge with theirs, and then in that gaining the benefits of that technology, whereas no one else does because they have access to that.
So you're saying more like they make this tear between the realities, and this stuff just starts appearing. Gotcha. I was thinking you were doing more of like
there's like a gnome going back and forth and getting things and learning things, and maybe time works differently in that other area, and so they could be there for 5 years, learn about a bunch of steampunk stuff, come back, share all this information with their people, and then they start to build up an army.
I mean, that's honestly a pretty sweet idea too, is to have, because my original thought was, is there some gnome that like in this other reality, like the world is just kind of done, or these gnomes are kind of running from something in their world, so they're coming over here, or there's something to be exploited in our world they don't have over in their reality anymore, so they're coming, setting up base, empowering gnomes, and then kind of shipping this stuff back over. But you're saying there's like a gnome going back and forth.
Yes, like a great leader that's been able to find a way. And so like the way I envision it is like maybe there's this gnome that has like torn that fabric in space-time, goes through the portal, ends up in like a back alleyway, and then goes and learns from all these do you have an idea? Or
I have an idea. All of my D&D books are out in my car right now, but I love this idea. I think too what it allows.
Do you want to go get them?
No,
real quick.
No, I'm going off the cuff.
Look,
today.
I can sing to everybody and let them know.
Let me explain my idea. And I bet you can maybe even find these guys later. So my idea kind of sets the gnomes up to be bad in the end. Like they're coming in and you're gonna have to fight these other gnomes. I like your idea because it makes the gnomes more neutral. Like they don't have to be.
Right, they could still be doing bad things with it. That's what I'm saying. Like I
or
think
they could be
there's
doing
a reason
good
why.
things.
Right, but there's a reason why this guy's been led to this situation in the first place.
Oh yeah,
is to like have to make that rash decision.
Well, and gnomes are just naturally tinkerers in the player's handbook anyway. Like they're just like an actual. If you play a gnome, you could have like a mechanical bird, like with you. Like it just gives you that or stuff like that. But what if, from them tampering with these whole alternate realities thing, what if something else sees that rip and starts coming through it as well? So like at first it's like, oh no, this is under control, I can handle this, it's just going to this one reality, and then like it starts to distort and you start having these other creatures come over. And that could be like, this could be a great place to introduce aberrations. Like if you're having if you've wanted to introduce them as a DM, they're just otherworldly creatures. There's kind of like an alien race in, I believe, Mordenkainen's. They're like kind of furry, but also insect-like, and they're like small. You could do good old fashioned mind flayers. So at first you're kind of just like interacting with the steampunk stuff or trying to uncover where all this new technology is coming from. And then you find it, you're talking to these guys, or maybe as you're talking, there's even like some advisor or fellow gnome tinkerer or scientist who just, keeps coming up throughout the session and is like, hey, like, I really don't think this is safe, or hey, like these readings on the charts have been really like disturbing. Like we need to kind of tone back. And this gnome's like, tone back. This is like the best that's ever been.
Look how strong we are. Like, look how awesome we are.
We're getting so much out of this. Like, why would we tone back? And then like this other thing happens. Dude, I would love so much if they pulled through this giant steampunk airship, and then you have to in turn use that airship to fight off these more like alien type craft that come through.
I have something I want to put on top of this.
Go.
And see what you think about this. So the idea is steampunk, right? And there's another tag inside this theme. It says emerging machines, which is funny because we also got merging realities. And so I was thinking of something that would be pretty cool.
Okay.
And it would be, I don't know. Okay. Steampunk dinosaurs or steampunk pirates. And so maybe this world is like filled with heavy technologies that haven't been refined yet. And the reason I say that is because that game, what's that game where you play the redheaded chick?
Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yes.
Yep.
So I kind of think about it that way, where, from a perspective of it still seems prehistoric and they're emerging in their own realities.
Yep.
And so it's funny because you like time rip to go back in time, but it's also like future time at the same time because it's still like technology that's like growing and shifting throughout its environment.
Yep.
Then as they go through this and these holes begin to open up and stuff like that, these monsters start to pour through. And so you could have like a steampunk Tyrannosaurus Rex, or you could have like, a Stegosaurus that has like, instead of having spikes on its back, it's just like steam billowing out of the top of it or something like that. Did I say Stegosaurus Rex?
I think so.
That's a thing.
That's okay. We're known for the cringe. Now. We're known for the cringe at this point.
Yeah.
But
everybody's not listening anyway, so it's perfect.
I think that's a sweet idea. So we're saying this is like almost like, was it Cholt? Like Cholt from that Tomb of Annihilation. It's like a steampunk version of Cholt. That these gnomes are going into and bringing this stuff back.
And it's unrefined steampunk technology because it's the beginning, the emergence of this technology in this world that they're going into, which means that it's raw but massively powerful and able to be molded and tinkered with to the point of where these gnomes are capable of using it.
What if it's a plane of existence where, to give this maybe unnecessary flavor, so Primus, who's the leader of the Modrons, remember them? Remember the Modrons from like way long ago? So Primus is essentially the god of like absolute order and balance. Like he's like neutral. And he runs, he essentially is just this giant mechanical like being. And he creates these little followers called Modrons. Modrons, Dudrons,
little one-eyed guys,
like
right?
Tridon. I'm not sure of all of their names, but yeah, they're like one-eyed little kind of weak clockwork steampunk-looking minions. What if this other plane is a plane where absolute order and Primus kind of just like took over, and so it's not necessarily that there are mages on the other side of things with this steampunk technology. It's just that everything over there is that. Like, everything runs like clockwork. Like, so there are T-Rexes made of steampunk material, and there are birds made of steampunk material. And maybe that's kind of where you start running into this at first, is you're like, man, these are really lifelike replicas. Like, of birds that this vendor out there is selling. Like, these are really lifelike like whatever. And then as you start getting closer and closer to where this vendor's from, or maybe there's like a secret base or something, like you just see more and more. Like you're seeing like clockwork people, clockwork animals, clockwork whatever, and he's just got this portal to this other plane of existence where there is just kind of this emerging machines type thing. And it can even still be in like the burgeoning state, like maybe there aren't people on the other side, but maybe where the merging realities comes from is the longer that portal stays open, the more of an effect it has on the surrounding environment. So maybe like, you know, this guy, like he starts to get very clockwork. Like maybe at one point, like he gets really injured, and instead of him bleeding blood, like he bleeds like oil, or he doesn't bleed. And like underneath his skin, you just like, there's just like the grinding of like gears and like the ticking of a clock. And you start to realize like, dude, we've got to shut this portal down, or else you're going to turn everything in our reality into that reality. Like,
yes, and that would make the most sense for Mode. What's his name again? Mode
Primus.
Primus.
Yeah.
Yes, that would make the most sense for Primus because that's his desire.
Yeah.
as a god, is to create order amongst all things.
Yep.
and create like a normalcy amongst everything. And so it would just sort of be its main core directive.
Yep.
As a god. And so,
dude, oh man,
him meddling in this is like,
it's perfect.
Yeah,
because I could see like him having this monologue too of like showing the players like, isn't this like, this is perfection. The T-Rex eats the Stegosaurus at just the right time in order to keep balance among the Stegosaurus population, whereas in the meantime, the sun reaches the sky at the perfect time of day where the clouds separate in just the right moment, and he's like, in this reality, everything runs like clockwork. No chaos, no confusion. Everything happens as it should. No luck, no bad luck, no fate, no fortune, just the ticking of a properly tuned clock. And then it's like,
I love that.
Yeah, and then like in the meanwhile, and it might not even be Primus. You could have like some higher level Modron who's like saying the same thing. If you don't feel comfortable at having a god, just kind of pop in. But yeah, so that could be where. Well, go ahead.
I want to expand on what you're talking about there. So, was that Primus giving that?
Yes. Yep.
Wonderful speech. Okay. Cut to the gnome.
Gnomey.
And the gnome. His name is
Jerome.
His name is Tick and Tock.
Gotcha.
It's twin gnomes.
Twin gnomes.
Twin brother. Yeah, twin bro. No, bro. Ah, there it is. Tick and Tock.
Twin bromes.
Twin bromes. Well, they are bromes if you think about it. He's like, and they always wear backwards hats.
My bromes and my Giron.
Yeah. And they always go to like South Padre.
Yep.
And they just party.
Yep.
And have a great time.
Yep.
Plant a flag. Just shotgun a beer. Yo, what's up, bro?
My bromes.
Hey, you want to check out this sweet ass T-Rex I just caught, dude?
Dude, I feel like that would be great, though. A great way to show the effect of the realities is to have this very serious Tinkerer gnome and this brother who just helps him, who is a total brome. And he's like, bro, look at this giant T-Rex, man. As time goes on, like, you see his personality change more and more, where he goes from less like, bro, to more like, sir, hello.
Yeah. And on top of that, even this is where I was heading with that, is that like while they're talking to your players, because of the mechanical nature of the world that is like starting to bleed into them, because everything happens like clockwork, they'll be talking to the players, but then they're like they're like AI pathing, right? And so in the middle of a conversation, he'll be like, yes, and if you can see right over here, this will be this thing. And then they just drop what they're doing and walk over to the sink and beginning washing dishes or something like that. But there's no dishes or something, and can really mess with the players' minds like at that point. So there's this is some fun stuff for like NPC role playing. For your players, and it really challenges you as the DM to keep a hold of like a lot of little tidbits of personality that you have to show.
Oh yeah, you know? But I think that'd be so much fun though.
Okay, so we've got ourselves something rolling here. I think we got a snowball.
Okay.
We just need to push it down the hill.
Okay. So, merging realities, steampunk, we've got these two gnomes Are the gnomes in a city? Are the gnomes just kind of, they have a workshop that's private somewhere? Where have they constructed this portal?
It depends on the level of like risk involved. Do we want to? Because in other words, it would create how much pressure there would be on the players. So like if they're by themselves, changing their reality around them in like the forest isn't necessarily going to be a big deal yet, but you could plant seeds for a lot longer if they didn't take care of it.
What if
you went with the city?
What if it's like kind of half and half? What if they don't live in the city, but they've kind of set up a workshop outside the city, and maybe it's kind of not like maybe it's a kind of a smaller town. And as you're rolling through, you even just notice that there's this one shop set up where this Brome, he more like runs the shop and just like sells these products. And maybe the town itself, even though it's smaller, is just like super well off because their farming is more automated, their lumberyard is more automated. They're like just
so he's selling all these parts and components to this town.
Yep.
And they're like, "Wow, this guy's the best." He's
just like, "Yo, bro, come on in, bro." Like,
check out this log cutter 3000 I got right here.
Yeah.
It's like, you ever chop down a tree with an axe, and then you could like challenge one of your strength players to out-chop the machine or something like that. I was thinking of a good way to start the mission though would be sort of tagging on to what you were talking about. You were talking about seeing maybe clockwork birds flying around or something like that. The players could be attacked by a clockwork beast of some sort.
That's a good idea.
And it would be like, what is this? Like, why did we get attacked by this thing? And I was thinking, I mean, depending on the challenge rating or the whatever level you wanted to fight it at, I was thinking, how cool would it be to have a clockwork owlbear?
Dude, that's challenge rating 3, right?
It is.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. I think that would be perfect. Clockwork owlbear would be dope.
Owlbear.
Even just like clockwork.
Also,
if they're lower level, even like clockwork wolves would be cool. If they're higher level, do like a clockwork wyvern, like clockwork,
just like a forest style creature.
Yeah. I think that'd be cool.
That you could then turn into that. And so then at that point right there, what would you do? Okay, so then we've got that first encounter there. What would you do maybe to sort of change up that encounter compared to like a regular encounter?
What do you mean?
Like, would you change up how the animal acted? Would you change up how it reacted to the players? Would you make something different than if they were just to fight a regular owlbear? One example would be like what you talked about earlier, where instead of cutting it and blood comes out, oil comes out.
Oh yeah, like I think for sure. Like maybe even you give the creature like resistance to slashing and piercing damage, like just to add that kind of flavor to it. Like you're hitting like just straight up metal.
Right.
And I think one thing too that could be cool. So you fight this clockwork owlbear, and you're like, where did this thing come from? Maybe that takes you to the nearby city. And you see this workshop. So when you go into the workshop, you're not just like, oh, cool, like tech workshop. Specifically, you're like, dude, we got attacked by a clockwork, like, owlbear or golem or whatever. Like, what? Like, I think some of your creatures are getting out. And he's like, oh, bro, like, I don't have any creatures here, man. I'm just, like, selling like this goods. You want to talk to my brother, bro. He's like, here, I can take you out to his workshop, dude. And the brother at first can probably pass it off as more of like, oh yeah, one of my creatures just must have escaped. Like, haha, like that's so terrible. I'll make sure I've taken precautions. It won't happen again. And then maybe as you're like leaving the workshop or as you're kind of just around or whatever, maybe then you get attacked by like, okay, wait, go back to the encounter with the clockwork owlbear. Maybe what you do is you don't just get attacked. Maybe you walk up, and there's somehow a 3-way fight between your party, some goblins, and an owlbear. This clockwork owlbear. Like, whether it's you walk up and the owlbear and the goblins are fighting, or the goblins ambush you and then this clockwork owlbear comes out, or whatever. Right. So you see that, like, I think it'd be best to have the owlbear and the clockwork owlbear and the goblins fighting, because you establish that they're on different sides. Then, after you talk to the more whiz kid brother, and he's like, oh no, that much just gotten free, ha ha ha, so sorry, won't happen again. As you're hanging around or as you're leaving, then you get attacked by clockwork goblins. And you're like, we've already seen regular goblins this session, and now we're seeing clockwork goblins. That's interesting. So there's something going, it kind of just puts that tease in the back of your mind of like, why are we seeing both regular goblins and clockwork goblins? Like, that's interesting. So it starts to tease that whole, like, these aren't just things he's making. Like, there might be something more happening here. And
I think, okay, now can I piggyback?
Please do.
Load up.
All
right. Squat the legs a little bit. We don't want to hurt those knees. And then now we're running. Okay, bud. And I'm going to whisper into your left ear, hey, dude, here's what I'm thinking. So what I'm thinking is maybe as you're getting around town and the players are starting to see some of these cool clockwork designed farming equipment or lumber equipment or, different things like that. This is a really cool thing that I was thinking about. Mm-hmm. You were talking about how the clockwork nature, like the Primus nature, sort of like affects everything around it and creates sort of like a natural, consistent state where everything sort of happens as it should. Mm-hmm. Well, I was thinking of about the situation with the sorry, I had a cat jump on the desk.
You're fine.
Where how like the brother starts to slowly form and turn into more of a mechanized individual.
Yep.
Maybe not clockwork, but starts becoming more like technical, if you will. Well, maybe the townspeople are also being affected as well.
Yep.
And I was thinking of having that whole good old-fashioned situation where the person's walking into the wall consistently but not stopping, like a video game glitch.
Ooh.
You know what I'm talking about? They're like, hello, welcome to my farm. Look at this great tiller.
That would be, oh my gosh. So you're essentially just playing your town like any town in Oblivion, where it's like, hello, hi, beautiful day today, beautiful day, hello, hi there.
Yeah, and like give each of your townspeople like 5 responses or something like that.
Yep.
And so you like walk up to a town's guard and you're like, sir, what's going on here? And he's all, oh, hail and well met. Haha. Man, I was an adventurer like you once until I took an arrow to the knee.
Dude, it would be so funny too if you just kind of nonchalantly like, hey, I want to try something different with NPCs today. So I'm going to give you guys prompts for what you can ask the NPCs. And just kind of introduce it as like something new you're trying. And then it turns out in the end to be part of this. So like afterwards you're kind of like, you like hold up a piece of paper after they say hello. It's like locations, rumors, like side quest. And you're like, what's up with got any rumors? Did you hear about?
Oh man, that would be amazing. Oh, that would be so funny. God, dude, that's so great. It would be even better if you kept on doing it after they solved the mystery or something like that, just to mess with them for the next time that they talk to an NPC.
Yep.
And so like the players are just ready for the prompts, and so they begin to ask the questions, and the guy's all, "Why are you asking questions like that?"
Yeah. Are you okay? Do you think I'm some kind of robot?
You okay, guys? Yeah, dude, this is pretty great. So we've got a beginning in terms of like, okay, we've planted some seeds. We've allowed the players to see what's going on in this regards. Okay. And then we've been able to get around the town, sort of see the effects of this kind of stuff. What kind of event would trigger the players to get to the point where they have to go, you know what? This needs to be changed. Like, this is... Because right now, I don't know if there's enough motivation for a player to go, you know what? This needs to change. Just seems like a weird town. But there needs to be something that happens that causes...
Yeah. See,
this to be.
I was hoping the goblin thing would kind of make it seem like it's like, okay, we've already fought regular goblins, and now we're fighting mechanical goblins. So you'd have to just keep teasing things out like that. I think you just have to, as a DM, write down like 3 or 4 things that you're going to continuously make the players aware of. Like, even if it's like in the center of the village, there's a large birch tree that's just kind of set up as a mount. It's right in the center of town. It's a beautiful, like, big birch tree. And they come back later, and you're like, and you kind of just describe, like, before the birch tree, you notice that, like, whereas before you loved its sweeping, curved branches, you must have just maybe seen it wrong, or maybe it's the light of the day, but the branches seem a little bit more rigid and structured. Almost, notice...
Or a leaf falls and it doesn't, like, float. It just
falls straight down.
One of the players in the head.
Or there's even, like, more symmetry to the tree. You're like, you didn't realize it before, but this tree is almost perfectly symmetrical, and there's almost, like, a beauty to it. And you come back later, and it's like, the shade of the tree seems to be different. Like, maybe it's getting closer to fall, and then, like, you see, like, a few of the leaves. So there's that. There's, like, the goblins. There's the townspeople. You could do that with, like, smaller plants or a pet. It's like, maybe there's a dog that's running around town, and you're like, oh, look at this good boy. And, like, it starts to change. And you just got to keep going back and keep showing these things so that the players see all over the place, like, this is more than just the tinkerer. Like, the stuff around us is changing. And if you wanted to pull a player alongside for the fun and help have a player kind of co-DM with you, tell a player, like, hey, like, I could really use your help to kind of establish the feel of this. If, this is kind of the plot of this session, and I would love if you could help, at these certain times when I start talking about these certain things, if you yourself could kind of play out this whole mechanical thing, like, a little bit more. Yeah. Like, you yourself are starting to change. That way the other players in, like, the group could start to be like, what is up with your character, dude? Like what is happening?
That's a really interesting thing to bring up, because I don't think a lot of DMs, I don't know if it's either a comfort thing or if it's just not really, like, it's just sort of like an outside the box thinking thing where you're actually integrating your players before session into some plans to allow for certain things to fall in place. Now, obviously, if you just did that with everybody, you might as well not even play, because you're just talking about the story and everything like that. But, like, if you're talking to that singular player, what you're doing is enhancing that, and then also giving that player agency to sort of design as they may within that world. A great way to get, like, players to become DMs, or if they are shown interest in it, is to do stuff like that in a lot of ways. And I think that's undersold and not done as often as it should be, because I think it's a really cool thing. So that is a great call out right there, Rich.
Yeah,
good job.
I totally stole it from Matt Covell.
Oh, there you go.
I mean,
well,
that's a totally original,
DMing
idea I had all on my own.
You're the smartest person of all time. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that could be cool. But I think this is the session where, for sure, you need to have, like, written on a piece of paper in front of you, like, tree, dog, goblins, whatever. And you just kind of, you just, as you look down, you're like, okay, I'm mentioning the tree. I'm going to put a check mark by the tree. Next time they come around town, I need to put another check mark by the tree and mention how it seems to be changing a little bit more. Because I don't think this mystery works well if the players just have to uncover it. Like, this is one where you need to, like, smash it in the player's face. Like, the things around you are changing. Notice this.
I like that. Another one would be, like, if a player's eating something in the town.
Oh yeah.
Make a Constitution saving throw to take a gear out of their mouth, like, as they. Yeah, you like that? I have this cat. He just keeps jumping out of.
Oh, put the cat in the podcast.
Hey, Audie, you want to be on the podcast, dude? Oh, he's going to bite my arm. Okay. Hey, but no, get back, dude. He gets so mad. He gets so mad when I push him away.
It's like, how dare you?
He's always like,
how dare you?
Because he just wants to lay on my keyboard is all he wants to do, truly.
But no, that's a good idea. Like, have it be something fun where, like, this tavern has, like one of your players, like maybe there's like a half orc in the party, and you're like, hey, this tavern's run by a half orc, and they cook you a traditional half orc meal, and it's delicious. And they even say something like, hey, you know what? Next time you're in here, I'm going to cook up another like half orc meal like just for you. I don't see many half orcs around here. And that player's like, man, this is dope. Like, this is so awesome. My player's eating some food that they love. Awesome. But like that night when they come and eat the food, like that's when they do what you're talking about, where all of a sudden they're like, this food just tastes off. Like it doesn't taste like, it tastes like oil, or it's just like super like hard. It's almost like or almost has like, and they're just kind of like, what, like what's happening? That's so weird. And if they're in a tavern too, have like a piano player who goes from like playing this really like lively imaginative song, or like even say that like they go from one song to another like just so seamlessly, and then have the other song where it's like dun 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 dun. Bum.
Dun, 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 dun. And then they just keep playing it over and over again. That would be hilarious. Ooh, that's a great use of music in the game too. You could just have that song on repeat all the time.
Oh my gosh. Like the first time be like, there's a really good piano player in this tavern. I just really want to play some tavern piano music, so here you go. And the next time if they're in the tavern, you just play like The Entertainer on repeat, or the Ice Cream Truck song on repeat, and they're just like, it just sets up a whole atmospheric change. This is a great way of just like trying to practice using the atmosphere for like a mystery.
It really is. I just thought of a great thing that your players are like, hey man, could you play another song? And he's all, of course I could. No, a different song. Oh, why, of course, my friend. And you just keep playing the same song over and over again. Okay, so we have we don't have a lot. This isn't a very tension heavy. This is less of like, it's dangerous in the sense of like, once the players understand the ramifications on the world that they know and love, there is danger involved there. But as an overall sort of setting and tension and things like that, there's not a lot of it. And that's okay, I think.
Yeah.
This is definitely a more whimsical scenario, if you will. With that being said, though, once the players decide that this is actually happening, and they determine that the Bromes are the reasoning, the reasoning for everything like that, the confrontation of the Bromes.
Gotcha.
What that would be the next general thing, right? That would make the most sense to you, right?
It does. And I'm wondering if you can even do something similar with that confrontation too, where like, you know, Brome and Tinker Gnome, like they seem very close. They're very different, but they're very close. Like they get along really well. And then as time goes on, like maybe Brome, like your players begin to notice that he changes. He's like changing, and then when you take him back to the other gnome, he doesn't seem to like care as much. So you're kind of like, what's going on, dude? Or maybe like Brome himself doesn't change, but the other gnome, like the Tinkerer, like he kind of begins to change slowly. Like he's taken over. But like,
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, yep.
Because what you could do is you could play both of the characters as similar twins, and then they're like, we finish each other's sentences, or something like that, and like, and then as the Brome that like is the one that interacts with all the people in the town and starts selling stuff and all this kind of stuff like that, he's Brome 1, but Brome 2 is going back and forth to the forest and going and interacting with this world and infecting himself with so much more of that. And then over time he's all, it's like my brother, he's like completely changed. And then he's all, what are you talking about? I have not changed at all. You and I are the same person.
No, that could be awesome, because then like it just, you have to work alongside now Brome to shut down this portal, and maybe that's where more of the conflict comes, is like maybe at this point the Brome 2 has become like an avatar of Primus. So like,
yeah, that's what I was thinking, because like that's what a machine would do. Is like sooner or later you become the machine, and then therefore you become the extension of the machine.
Yep.
And so that to me is sort of like his infection is Primus.
Yep. So like as you're trying to shut down this portal, like maybe it's something like you can't just break it because space-time continuum or something. You have to like power it off, and maybe there's like a long power off process where you have to like, you know, the Brome 1 is kind of walking you through like, okay, we need to go shut down this central like conduit, and someone has to go over there and use an action to do that while everyone else is fighting off things coming through this portal that Primus is sending through. And then once that happens, it's like, okay, now the central conduit's turned down, we need the flux engine 21 to be shut down, and it's like 30 feet up in the air. So like your players have to figure out how to get somebody up there while still stuff's coming through. So you essentially just have like different rounds of different animals coming through, and they start off kind of small and then get like progressively bigger. Or
here's what I got. Can I add to that?
No, please do.
I think we've done this before, actually, way back.
Probably.
Like, yeah.
I mean, maybe
sooner or later, if we get to episode 1000, there's going to be some crossover.
Exactly.
There has to be. But the Modrons. But let's. Okay, so this isn't something I know we've done, but it is similar to something we've done. All these steampunk animals spilling out of this hole as this maybe this Rome 2 is like wanting to let them all out or anything like that, as the players are destroying them and bashing them and all this kind of stuff. It reminds me of the Steal an Artifact, Inside a Painting episode, where as you were fighting off these paint angels and demons, they formed a pool of paint at the base, and then formed the paint golem. And what I was thinking of, what would be dope would be a clockwork like mech that this gnome drives and rides around or something like that.
What if this is where you could use some sweet animals that are kind of like combinations of things, like a chimera is a lion, a goat, and a snake. So maybe like you fight a lion, and then there's also a goat, and then there's also like some kind of giant serpent. And after you break them all, like Primus pulls them together into a clockwork like chimera. Or maybe you just fight all these different things, and then he pulls them together into like a clockwork hydra. But instead of it just being like a big clockwork mechanical just hydra, it's got like the head of like, this head looks like a lion, this head looks like an owl bear, this head looks like this. And it's less of just a vanilla hydra, and it's more a hydra made up of all these different clockwork parts.
Can I?
Nope,
I just
please,
have
go,
this
go, go.
amazing image.
Yep.
The chimera is great. And so you fight the goat, which, by the way, that would be hilarious. If like you fight a snake, then you fight a lion, and then the final fight
it's just a goat.
Is a goat.
Yep.
So you fight those three, then they form together a giant ticking clock at the heart of this like humanoid. It's like a humanoid shaped beast of mechanoid, like steam power and everything like that. The head of a lion, this golden brass lion head with two glowing steamy eyes. Then an arm holding a long flail, and the end of the flail itself is a snake head, like with spikes coming out of it. And then in the other arm, a shield, and on the front of the shield, two horns and a goat snarling with its like nostrils snarling out steam and stuff like that.
That's so cool.
And then the gnome Brome 2 claws up, and he's like, "You're not gonna stop this at all. This is how this is supposed to be. Time keeps spinning." And then he hops inside, and he's like, "Kill!" And then, and then it's just like, and then the lion head comes down, and his voice changes, and he's like, "Operation Execute."
Dude,
and he throws out the flail.
Okay, so
I just think that would look a lot cooler as opposed to like, because I want it to be a mech.
It has to be a mech. So what if with this too, this is gonna feel really comical at first, but like in the back of the monsters manual, there's the stat blocks for just all of these animals. Like, so what if like coming through the portal, like Brome 1 is like, okay, be careful. I don't know what's gonna come through that portal, but it's not gonna be anything good. And then it's just like a pack of rats, bunnies, a hawk, and it's just all these different animals that like can still do damage, but they're kind of just like minion status essentially. They're all like one shots. So you're not gonna like you got a horse that comes through. And then eventually like as time goes on, you're still getting all these little animals that are just kind of like okay, these are like at first it's just like oh this is it. Then the second round you get like maybe you get like a large snake that comes through, and you're like oh okay like it's a large snake and still other animals. You're like this is different. And then like you get a lion that comes through along with just all these other minion animals, and it's just waves and waves and waves. And then after that, so you have the parts of the lion, the parts of the snake, the goat parts, like there already. So it just doesn't seem like out of nowhere. And it goes from kind of being like a laughable, like this is it, to Primus being like, oh, I can put these parts back together again. And make something even more beautiful.
Something that you've never, something that you could never imagine.
Yep.
Like he could even throw the wings of like the eagles all together on the back of this mech, and so he'd be like, Operation Fly.
Yep.
And just,
dude, that'd be so
I'm picturing
cool.
this mech. This mech looks amazing.
Yeah.
If someone, okay, everybody, if you're still listening, please, God. I know we don't have fan art. That's fine. There's not really a way to do fan art for our show. But if you could find a way to make a chimera mech with a lion head, a shield of a goat, maybe some eagle wings, and a mace that looks like a snake or something like that, would be pretty amazing.
Well, imagine like imagine this too. Like so like first round of combat, it's just a normal chimera, or maybe there's even a few rounds of normal chimera, and then like Operation Fly happens, and there's all these bird parts on the ground that just like pick up and like form into wings for the chimera. So it itself is evolving as time goes on. Or you have like amazing. You have like porcupines, or you have like different animals out there that just like continually
like Operation Charge, and there's a horn that spears out the top of the lion's head or something like that. And this thing's gonna look psycho at the end.
Yeah, and it just continually like switches up like how it fights. I don't know. I think, and then essentially you just shut down the engine and everything like slowly starts to go back to normal. Like I don't think it's like an instantaneous like everything's fine. It's like everything, and maybe that's even just something that kind of marks this town forever. Is like it's still very mechanical. Like there's things that are still very mechanical, but they get a little less like programmed, and they just kind of now just have that skin of looking mechanical. So maybe the brother like is kind of half tinker or half like steampunk or whatever, but he kind of gets his old personality back.
Right. I think that's it's funny that this one devolved into combat. We've had a combat.
It's D&D, like
it's D&D. But we still had some good mystery in this one, and
we had some good mystery.
We should challenge ourselves.
Some innocent animals.
I think we should challenge ourselves next time to do like let's try to do a non-combat episode.
Well, I think this one could be easily done non-combat. It's just I don't know. It's good to throw out. We give you all the tools you need. You can make it non-combat. You can make it more combat, like. But that's our job here at Filling the Gaps. We're not here to play the game. We're here to give you the tools to play with your friends or your next game night. So,
well, let's do a synopsis, which is for you, and a summarization, which is for me this week.
All right, let's do it.
I'll give you a second. So, the summary of this story is essentially your players happen upon this very intricate and nice and well-running town. Everything seems to be in place. Everything is too perfect. The town itself is filled with farmers and wood lumberjacks and different sort of professions all throughout the town, and each of them seems to be provided with machines that you've never seen before. A wood chopper machine 3000 that chops down 6 trees at once. And you see a farmer tilling the land, but instead of him tilling it, he's sitting behind it drinking a lemonade as multiple lines of farmland are being tilled out. And then you walk into some of the local stores and you find these two brothers, two gnomes, Brum 1 and Brum 2. And they are eccentric and happy and pretty much not very organized, if you will, but they do definitely have like a great energy to them. And as you leave, you don't really notice anything too crazy about it, except for the fact that they work with utilizing a bunch of steampunk. But you've seen steampunk before. But for some reason now, the change that the town you just walked through, it's beginning to change. The tree itself is more symmetrical. The food you ate at the tavern last night tastes a bit more mechanical. And through this, you find that the town is being changed more and more and more. And as you discuss and learn, you start to figure out that Brome, too, his name is Tock.
That's right. Tick and Tock.
Opened a portal to Primus's dimension, or Primus's like steampunk world, if you will. It's a theme park, but it's also a dimension as well. And that world is starting to bleed over into this world. And you realize that if you don't get this taken care of soon enough, well, everything, even you, will become mechanical. So you and Brum 1, or Tick, go and try to convince Tock of not doing it. And in your great DMing, you're able to do so by getting your players to actually convince him without even fighting that it's the wrong way to go about it. Or, even better DMing, you have a sweet-ass battle with a Chimera mech, and everything goes perfectly, and you're the best DM of all time.
Either way.
That's kind of what exactly would happen.
In both realities, you're the best DM.
Yes.
Okay.
There is a old Infinite Universe reality where if you thought last night was a bad game, some universe
it's a good game.
Had the best D&D game of all time.
All 20s.
And there's also a universe where Rich is Matt Mercer.
That's also true. Ooh, that would be one sexy combination. Rich Mercer. Matt. I almost said my last name. Rich Mercer. But okay. I'm like all over the place with this synopsis, so I'm just going to go with you after your first interaction with Tock, walking back into the town to talk to Tick. And so your players are walking back through the town of Clockwork. You're walking back through the town of Clockwork, and as you walk through, everything seems fine. Everything seems fine, though. Earlier, you had seen a dog and a cat, and the dog was chasing the cat, and now they both seem fine. Like, actually, the cat's, like, laying on top of the dog, and the dog sees you and comes over and gives you a very friendly bark, 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 ha, 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 ha. And you're like, oh, that's a weird reaction. Before, he had kind of, like, jumped up and seemed really jovial. You walk down the town, and you can see, a small flock of birds that all, like, decide to land together, and their chirping seems very in tune and very on beat and very together. You walk into the tavern, and instead of being met with the lively, bombastic songs of the gnome playing on the piano, instead you're met with a very mechanical, staccato, just programmed song. And the half-orc, who usually was known for having such flair in her dishes and every day having a different secret ingredient, today she just hands you over a very bland, normal meal. And you start to begin to notice as you look throughout the town that everything seems to have a little bit less of the life taken out of it, a little bit less of the chaos taken out of it, a little bit less of the good luck and bad luck and ups and downs. Everything just seems neutral. And you begin to wonder if maybe all these clockwork beings you've been seeing aren't being constructed. Maybe everything around you is becoming more clockwork-like. And then that leads you back to going back to talk. That's weird. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? You're talking to talk. To talk. That's weird.
Rich, are you being affected by Primus right now?
Talk.
Tell me about a local quest, Rich.
Hello. Have you heard about the Thieves Guild? I heard that they can get into almost any door. I don't know.
Man,
I want to play Oblivion
we're
now.
nerds.
Oblivion was a great game. I love
Skyrim.
I love the NPCs in
Almost
Oblivion.
Skyrim boy. Oblivion, everyone looked like their face just got injected by like 300 milligrams of Botox.
Yep.
Everybody looks like they just got wiped down with canola oil
God's bless
and then
you.
injected with.
give any girl, boy, any species in that game, give them a gold piece. God's bless you. Like, no matter who it is, that's the only voice line they recorded for it. It's beautiful.
I remember one time I created a spell and I maxed because in like the old game you could max like mess with how big the spell was.
That was such a good
maximized.
mechanic.
I know I maximized the radius or diameter or whatever it was of the spell itself, and I shot it into a mountain like way far away, and then it was all authorities are looking for you, and I was all I killed somebody. I don't know who I killed.
But
there's somebody over there dead.
Yeah, that was such a good game. Ah, man.
Yeah.
Man.
It is what it is. Speaking of good games, we just came up with a pretty fun one, I think. That was a lot of fun.
That was a good episode. Well, hey, everybody, thank you for listening to another episode of Filling the Gaps. Hopefully, you got something from this last session that you can use at your next game night. We know that running a game week after week, month after month, year after year can be hard, so we hope that you were sparked, you were given a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of fuel for your fire, so that come next game night, we've made your job a little bit easier as a DM. Good night, sweet dreams. We'll tuck you in around the corners, give you a pat on the head. Here's a cup.
Lift your feet up.
Yep, there you go. Here's a cup of water and good night. Yep, just have a good one. We'll leave the door just a little bit cracked open for you. There you go. Just a little bit of light. Okay, thanks. We'll see you in the next one. Okay, bye.
Oh, you're still here. Oh. Well, I was about to walk through a nightclub like John Wick and do some cool assassin stuff, so, All right. Bye.